Today we're talking about a very interesting topic. We got together about a week ago and we were talking about overwhelm and how everyone tells you what you should be doing. Today's topic is, what do I need to kill to grow my business? So joining us for Meet the Pros today, we've got Ashley Al-Sadi and Ben Hirons. G'day, guys.
Hey, guys.
Hello.
So I might hand over to Ashley first. Give us your sort of opinion on, or your view on, what are the things people need to stop doing or need to kill within their business to grow it?
I love this topic because I find in the sales world at the moment that there is this kind of theme of making things way more complex than they need to be. In this day and age, we've got so much information thrown at us. We've got new platforms, new technologies, you name it, it's getting more complicated. However, I think in order to grow your business, you really just need to get back to basics when it comes to sales. Because I think you're the first person, David, that always agrees with me on this, that sales is really at its core just about good communication. So I'm a big believer, if you want to grow, make sales really easy by just getting back to basics, focus on good conversations and building relationships with your clients.
Awesome. Ben, what are your thoughts on this? What do people need to remove or what do people need to stop doing to grow their business?
Yeah, look, I think as Ashley said, marketing is a very similar space. You hear this, you've got to be on Facebook, you've got to be doing Instagram, you've got to be on MySpace, although I think that died 25 years ago. There's all these things that people tell you to be doing that makes marketing a really complex proposition, whereas at its real core is it's actually a very simple concept that you're making a commitment and a promise to fulfill. So it's how you really wind back all that into really focusing your core messages.
Yeah, I think one of my favorite books this year was a book called Essentialism. And it basically said you have to learn the art of saying no. And I think the minimalism is the similar approach, right? It's about, we live in a world where they stuff things down your throat. You need more of this, you need to buy one of these, you can't miss out, the old FOMO thing. And I think all of this promotion to get you to buy and to do and to be involved with more things, it's all based around fear of missing out, that FOMO. And it can be stressful. And then people get to this point, they just go, I just don't know what to do first. And for me, it's 90% of what you're doing is really not effective. There's sort of 10%. There's the old 80-20 rule. You've all heard about the Pareto principle. 20% of what you do produces 80% of your results. I was reading a fascinating book and it was by a guy by the name of Perry Marshall, and he's a marketer. And he said, the 80-20 rule is actually fractal. And what it means is that if you take 20% of the 20%, which equals 4%, of what you do produces 80% of the 80%, which is 64%. Now, you do the maths on that, right? And you say 4% of my week. So 10% of my week's about 4 hours. So 4% is probably about 2 hours. So there's probably 2 hours in your week that's producing 64% of the results in your business.
Wow.
Right? Now, if you think about it, it's a principle. It's not even just a theory, it's a principle. And the problem is that most people can't tell us what that 4% is. They don't know, because they've got this list of stuff that is longer than the number of hours in their day. I want to quiz you guys on this. So Ben, we talk about do less, but do the more effective stuff. So what is the 4% in marketing?
Yeah, and that's what you've got to find out. And that's kind of part of the journey. And there's some fundamental things that we continually see. Is one, so that 4%, you've actually got to know what that is. So that starts with the right tracking and reporting. Really simple stuff, yet it's become such a challenge for businesses. So, same with target audience, right? There's this problem of trying to be too many things for too many people and you end up being nothing to nobody. So it's how do you actually just hone down on, and whilst I'm probably not sure if I quite agree with 4%, is what's the core target audience that's going to give you 80% of your revenue, right? That's obviously going to de-risk your business, all that sort of stuff. And same with your message, right? Everybody's trying to be on so many platforms, communicating so many times a day, is your message should be very simple and concise. So make it concise, communicate it, and you'll reap the rewards.
Yeah. So I think the one way to do it with marketing, I think, is there's 20% down the bottom end that's wasting 80% of your time and money. So rather than saying, what should I be doing more of? The question is, what should I be doing less of? And that's probably an easier way to identify it, because it's the non-producing, isn't it? It's the stuff that you're throwing a lot of money at, but it's not producing the way it used to, or it never got off the ground, or it should work, but it's not. And we just persist with things because we're creatures of habit.
So the unknown unknowns, as Rumsfeld said.
Yeah, yeah. If you guys are too young to remember the Yellow Pages, it used to be a big fat book.
I remember them.
And you used to use it to prop up your monitor on your desktop. But, the guys who used to sell it, they sold it based on if you don't put your ad in, you miss out on advertising for the whole. And they had some of the best television ads ever. And you probably remember the term "Not Happy Jan."
Yeah.
That was the Yellow Pages ad. And that was because Jan did not put the ad in time, so they missed out on the whole year's marketing. So they started with FOMO many years ago, and it's a thing that people use to, it's like clickbait, isn't it? It gets people engaged in things. Now they don't reevaluate after that. And so they end up continuing with things. So people paid for Yellow Pages ads for years without measuring the result. And so what you're saying there is really marketing is a mathematical thing, right? And when we decide what the 80-20 is, or the 64-4, it's literally about saying what's working, and the maths will tell you. But if you don't know the maths, you can't make those decisions. So Ashley, you're in the telemarketing space. You're pretty much in sales. You use the phone all day, every day. What's the top 20% or even the top 4% of the things that you believe people should be doing more of in their business?
I'm going to be very biased here, and I'm going to say you need to pick up the phone.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to bet on the fact that if there are people in business, and if we look at that 4% rule, I'm going to bet when it comes to sales, that 4% comes from, again, having genuine conversations directly with your prospects or with your clients. Because I can't tell you how many times, obviously, I interact with people and they say, oh, but what if I just keep emailing? Or what if I just keep doing content posts, whatever it might be? And yes, those things obviously have a time and a place. But again, I think if you're wanting to create those really immediate, direct results, you've got to pick up the phone and have a genuine conversation with your prospect. And that's the way that you're going to create that result. So...
Yeah. When I was younger, I was in sales, and there was a sales trainer, Tom Hopkins. You probably remember the name. And he used to talk about the most important use of a salesperson's time was to be belly to belly with a person who's ready to buy.
Yes.
And they said anything that is not the best use of your time. So sometimes we don't think about sales this way. And so the best use of a salesperson's time is not playing telephone tag. Right? It's not even called prospecting. The best use of a salesperson's time is sitting in front of someone who's ready to buy. But to get that person there requires other sales effort. So depending on the skills of the salesperson should determine how far down the chain they are. And most people in business, they say, all I need is some prospects who need my product and I can sell it, no problem. And you go, yeah, but who's getting them in front of you? Well, that's the problem. So sometimes we sort of don't realize that this whole 80-20 rule includes things that you can actually outsource, like getting someone like even you guys to do, but things in marketing where you can automate. A lot of people don't do their automation well in their marketing. So they look at advertising in isolation. And they don't think about, I'm paying for ads, but what's the landing page look like that people are going to? What happens when they click? So all the questions about the numbers. So I think it's really important. Now, I look at it from the business perspective, and whenever I start working with a business owner, the first thing I say is you need to be working on your business for a minimum of 4 hours a week. And I don't care if you lose it out of your sleep, your leisure time, or your work day, but 4 hours every week for the rest of your life in business should be allocated to working on. And they go, oh yeah, we can do that. I go, great. What are you going to do during that time? They go, we don't know. I said, now that you have the space, you start putting in the things that are leveraged activity. So this is the planning, the recruiting, the strategizing, all these sorts of things. So really, this whole idea of what we should be doing less of is time's finite. We all get 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And every time I ask the question, who'd like an extra couple of hours in their day, almost everyone puts their hand up. But the truth is you can't get it unless you give away something else. So the notion of what we need to kill, what are the things we need to stop doing? From my perspective, it's the business owner doing administrative work. I do it by maths. I say, how much is an hour of your time worth? And people go, oh, I don't know, maybe $150 an hour. I go, great. Anything that's $149 an hour or less, someone else should be doing, right? And they go, how do I afford to pay for that? And I say, you just saved an hour and you're telling me you can get 150. So you just made $1 profit on that. And so it's a mindset thing, right? It's not just an arbitrary thing. But people aren't willing to let go and they're scared. How do I justify the wages? So for me, it's a simple methodology that you look at all the time. So if we were going to wrap this into a sort of top two tips. I'm a business owner. I should be killing something that I'm doing every day in my marketing to improve my business, what are the top 2 things that I should knock out of my day from a marketing perspective?
I think a fair portion of marketing is more of a mental proposition. So I think one of the biggest challenges I think we all face is it's not about, so you've got to get that mentality out of your head. So you need to kill that mentality. So this is all about those people that you want to serve, and how do you get the feedback and the insights, the information from them. And the next, I think probably the biggest one is that flows through to what value do I add to them? So how do we make sure that every single engagement and relationship we have is adding value to what they do and how they do it?
Right. So being conscious about how you invest that time with your prospects, right, and making sure that it's part of a process. So how do I add value and how do I engage them and move them forward? Yeah, because it brings me, and the reason I sort of threw that question at you, because I know a lot of people, Kiyosaki used to say, he said, poor people will spend time to save money. And they'll tell me, we don't spend any money on marketing. We get all our business through our network. And I go, oh, interesting. And it doesn't cost us anything. I go, really? I said, how much is your time worth? I go, I'm a business owner. I don't pay myself unless there's profit. So it's not worth anything. And I go, there's the initial problem. Because if you actually put a value on your time and then you did the maths again, you'd be terrified at how much you're actually spending on marketing. And it's way more than investing in a marketing strategy. I think that whole idea with marketing of saying there's a real cost to my time. And if I'm not comparing how much it costs me to go to a networking event, the dollars per hour with how much a marketing strategy is going to cost me, I might be doing a poor comparison.
And they overlook cost of staff are a lot more than they think it is too.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a trap, isn't it?
I think that cost is the wage. There's a lot more to it than that.
I got in trouble because I did this on social media. I put in a statement saying you need to generate 3 times a person's wage to justify keeping them as an employee. And I got blamed because there was a couple of people who sell trade services and they say, I can't get 3 times what I pay a cleaner. I said, that's not what I meant. I said, you need to go and find work. You need to be doing more valuable activities, because the first part, like the reason I say 3 times is one is their wage. The other one is their on costs, which you're alluding to, Ben, which is how much it costs to employ them and train them and to give them a phone and to give them a computer and all these things. And the multiple is the profit. Because if all I'm doing is paying their wage and on cost, what's the point?
Yeah.
Right.
So the money has to come from somewhere. And if it means I'm doing more sales because they're doing the admin that I was doing, that's where the 3 times comes in. It's not just billing their time. It's about generating the value in the business. So really good point. Thank you. Ashley, top 2 tips for you for people to things they should kill to grow their business.
Yeah, so I would say, Ben did, I'll address the mental game first, because I think, again, with how I started talking about sales complexity, I think everyone needs to ditch that mindset that sales needs to be really difficult, because it's not. Again, I think if everyone can let that go, kill that kind of mindset, and then just focus on having genuine conversations and how they can help people, it'll go a long way. And then I think my second tip, coming back to what you said earlier, David, about being belly to belly, I would say you need to kill the things in your business when it comes to sales that don't put you in front of people. So if you are choosing to do activity that is not getting you anywhere, or maybe is even helping you to procrastinate and hide from selling, you need to get away from that and focus on the things that get you in front of people.
Yeah, 100%. Now, often people think of business as busyness, right?
Yeah.
And I'm busy. I've got to chase my clients. I've got proposals to write. I've got to do this. And it's like the tail wagging the dog. And why are you writing those proposals? Oh, because people ask me for a quote. I said, you don't say yes to every person who asks you a quote. You never know which one I'm going to win. I go, hang on a second. You've got to triage. You've got to sort of filter these people and qualify them before you invest your time. Because when you go to write a quote, that might take an hour or 2 of your time.
Definitely.
Now, $150 an hour, it's $300 that you just forked out to do a quote for someone, and they may or may not buy. So
it's like that concept of pre-sales. I don't get that. I'm pre-selling, right? Yep. Anyway.
Anything prior to getting the payment is free work. And so sales and marketing to me are considered like free work, because you're putting all this money and this time in, not getting paid for it. And the only time you get paid is if someone says yes. So
Yeah.
any of that sales and marketing activity that's poorly directed. So if you're advertising to a too broad an audience, or if you're advertising to the wrong market, or if you're not closing, all that work goes down the toilet because we don't get the dollars in afterwards. So I used to do a lot of tender responses when I was in sales in IT. And we worked out the average tender response cost us $30,000 in
Wow.
to produce, right? Because these were major government tenders. And you thought about it, we had a conversion, we got 1 in 4 or something, which means $120,000 of sales and pre-sales, what you just mentioned, Ben, was spent before you even win the deal. So when we won, we had to make 120 grand just to cover the salespeople before the company made a profit. And it's insane. You think about it, think, oh my God, that's a lot of money. It sounds like big numbers, but the small business doesn't consider. If you spend an hour doing a quote and your hourly rate's $150, that quote, you just paid $150 to generate that quote. So how do you minimize the amount of quoting that you do? Or how do you make sure you're only quoting to people who are ready to buy? And this is really about what do I need to kill? And I would say anything that is a proposal that is written on the premise that you're doing it out of obligation instead of out of, I just need to put this in place so they order, is potentially a waste of time. Yeah. Cool. So top tip, let's wrap this up with the one thing that you think people need to kill. In a nutshell, what is it? Ben.
This is going to sound Captain Obvious, but you've got to kill the things that aren't working.
No. Thank you.
The world of marketing is a lot of stuff. So it's really how you drill down and find out what's working, what's not working, and get rid of the stuff that's not.
Yeah. So to me, that requires you to stop.
Yep.
And look at things. And this notion that we talked about with busyness is people say, I'm too busy to do that. When we have lockdowns, that's the perfect time. So it might be a review time to look at your diary from last week and start identifying what were the things that were really just time wasters, and just stop those. Thank you. Ashley, what do you think?
Look, I'm gonna come back to the fact or the point that I said before, because I'm such a big believer that sales is such a mindset game.
Yeah.
So again, just kill that thought that sales is complex, sales is difficult. Just pick up the phone and have some genuine conversations with your prospects. I think that is going to get you leaps and bounds ahead of where you are right now.
Yeah, awesome. Guys, look, thanks so much for the conversation today. It was a tough one because when I looked at the topic, what do I need to kill to grow my business? I was thinking we've just gone back in a lockdown here. There's a lot of people thinking about something they want to kill.
Yeah, maybe this will spark and ignite some interest from there. So
look, thanks so much for your time, guys.
Thanks so much.
Cheers.